In a quiet village called Yumucha, two girls were born on the same night, same face, same height, same smile. Even their mother used to touch their cheeks twice before she could tell who was who. The first twin was named Amara, the second twin was named Adiz, but the village knew something early. Even if their faces matched, their spirits did not. Amara was soft like morning light. She greeted elders first. She helped neighbors without counting it. Adiz was beautiful too, but her heart was always in a race. If Amara was praised, Adiz felt robbed. If Amara smiled, Adiz felt mocked. Their mother, Mama Gozi, would warn her gently. My daughter, a jealous heart is a fire. It burns the owner before it burns anyone else. Adiz would smile and nod, but inside her, something dark kept growing. Then one day, the village crier announced something that changed everything. The king's only son, Prince Obina, was returning home, and the palace had one message. The prince will choose a bride from among the maidens of Yumucha. That announcement entered Adiz like wine, because she had already decided the prince must be hers, even if she had to step on blood to reach him. The prince arrived like harmattan breeze, quiet but heavy. The village gathered at the palace courtyard. Maidens wore their finest wrappers, beads shone on necks, perfume floated like prayers. Amara didn't even want to go. She told her mother, "Mama, a crown is not my dream." But Mama Gozi insisted, "Go, not for the prince, go because your presence is your honor." So Amara went simple, clean, glowing without trying. Adiz went too, dressed like a festival. When the prince began to walk among the maidens, the village held its breath. Adiz smiled so wide her face almost cracked. She tilted her head like a carved goddess, but the prince did not stop at her. His eyes moved and rested on Amara, not because Amara was dressed better, not because she was louder, but because Amara's piece was loud. Prince Obina asked a question. "If you entered the palace, what would you bring into my home?" One girl said wealth, another said beauty, another said children. Amara answered softly, "I would bring a home that feels like rest, a place where even a tired king can breathe." The prince stared at her like he had been thirsty all his life, and in front of everyone, he said, "I want this one." A dizzy smile froze. The air left her lungs. She watched her sister step forward, and she felt something snap inside her. That night, while Amara slept peacefully, Adiz sat outside and whispered into the dark, "If destiny chose her, then destiny will lose her." Adiz knew something the village didn't. Behind Yumucha was a thick bush called Hayujo, the forest of fear. People said spirits lived there. People said if you cried there, your tears would not return. But Adiz had been there before secretly. There was an old woman in that forest, not a normal old woman, the kind of old woman whose eyes looked older than the world. They called her name Mother of Spirits. Adiz went there in the night with kolanut and palm wine. She bowed low and spoke, "I want my sister's life." The old woman didn't even blink. "Do you want her life, or do you want her destiny?" Adiz swallowed, "Both." The old woman laughed dry and sharp. "You cannot steal destiny like yam from a barn, but you can try." She gave Adiz a small calabash. "Inside this is sleep powder. If she drinks it, she will sleep like death. But remember, sleep can look like burial, and burial can turn into regret." Adiz's eyes shone. "I will not regret anything." The old woman leaned close. "Then don't come back to cry." Adiz returned home. The next morning, she acted like a loving sister. "Amara, congratulations. Let's go to the stream one last time, as sisters before you become a palace woman." Amara smiled. "I'll miss you." Adiz smiled too, but it was not a smile. It was a knife wearing lipstick. The stream behind the village was beautiful. Water ran clean. Stones glistened. Birds sang. They sat. They laughed. They remembered childhood. Adiz brought out a small drink in a clay cup. "For you," she said, "a blessing drink." Amara hesitated. Adiz's voice became sweet. Will you enter the palace without taking your sister's prayer? Amara took it and drank. At first, nothing happened. Then her eyelids began to lower slowly. Ease, I feel sleepy. Adise held her shoulders. Rest small, you'll be fine. Amara's head dropped. Her body went limp. Adise stared at her sister's face, same face as hers, but now helpless. And in that moment, Adise didn't see a sister. She saw a door to the palace, a door to power, a door to a crown. She dragged Amara into the bush. She dug like a mad person, hands blistering, breathing heavy. She found a shallow pit and she laid Amara inside. Then she whispered, "Sleep, by the time you wake, I will be you." Adise began to cover the pit, not fully, not deep enough, because she was in a hurry. She pressed the soil with her feet, then stood up and looked around. The forest was quiet, too quiet. Then a sound came, a soft rustle, like something watching. Adise turned sharply, but saw nothing. Still, fear touched her spine, so she grabbed her wrapper and ran back to the village. And as she ran, she said, "From today, I am Amara." The palace preparations were loud. Drums, food, dancing. Everyone believed Amara was in her room, being dressed. Adise entered with her head bowed, pretending to be Amara. Mama Gozi hugged her. "My daughter, you will be a queen." Adise almost smiled. Then Mama Gozi paused. She touched her cheeks gently. Because mothers know, but Adise copied Amara's calm face. Mama Gozi nodded, uncertain. The prince came to meet his bride. He looked at her. Something in him shifted. He couldn't explain it. Same face, same body, but the warmth was missing. Still, he said nothing, because men can ignore intuition when beauty is standing in front of them. The wedding happened. Adise became palace wife, and at first, she enjoyed it. She wore rich wrappers, gold, perfume. She walked like she owned the sun. But then, strange things began. The palace dogs barked at her every night, as if she was a thief. The royal mirror cracked the first time she looked into it, and each night, Adise would hear footsteps outside her door, slow, heavy like someone dragging chains. She would open the door and see nothing, but the air would smell like wet earth, like fresh grave soil. Adise began to lose sleep, and inside her, one thought started to crawl. What if she didn't die? Under the soil, Amara's spirit fought to return. The sleep powder was heavy, yes, but Amara was not weak. Her fingers moved first, then her eyes opened. Darkness, soil on her mouth. She tried to scream, but earth entered her tongue. She fought, clawed, pushed, then she found air. Because Adise did not bury her deep, Amara broke out slowly, coughing, shaking, covered in dirt. She crawled like an injured animal, tears mixed with soil, hands bleeding. And that's when she saw it, a small shrine under a tree, not a big shrine, a forgotten one. It had a broken pot, a small stone, and old feathers. Amara collapsed there and whispered with her last strength, "God of my fathers, if my life is meant to end, let it end. But if I still have purpose, please, show me the way." The wind blew, the shrine stones shook slightly, and from behind the tree, an old man appeared, a hunter with white hair, eyes sharp like eagle. His name was Papa Dyke. He stared at her. "Child, are you a spirit?" Amara cried, "I am Amara." Papa Dyke's face hardened. "Amara, the bride of the prince." Amara shook her head. "Someone is wearing my face." Papa Dyke didn't hesitate. He carried her on his back. Then the palace must hear this. They reached the palace gate at night. Amara looked like a ghost. Dirt, blood, torn cloth. The guards pointed spears. "Who are you?" Amara stepped forward. "I am Amara." The guards laughed. "Amara is inside with the prince." Papa Dyke raised his voice. "This is the true Amara." The guards hesitated. But then Adise, hearing noise, stepped out wearing Amara's face clean and royal. When Amara saw her sister, Her knees almost collapsed, because it was like looking into a mirror that wanted you dead. Adie screamed first. This is an impostor, a madwoman. She wants to shame the palace. The crowd gathered. Prince Obina came out. He saw Amara. His heart jumped. Something about her felt real, but she looked too broken to be believed. Adis held his arm. My husband, please. This is a trick. The prince looked between them. Same face. One dressed in royalty. One dressed in suffering. Then Mama Gozi arrived. She looked at both girls, and she began to tremble, because she could feel it. But fear makes people choose the easiest truth. Adis stepped forward. Mother, you know your daughter. Tell them I am Amara. Mama Gozi opened her mouth, but words refused to come, because deep down, she knew. Amara whispered, Mama, it's me. Mama Gozi started to cry, and then, something shocking happened. The palace dogs ran out. Not barking at the dirty one, they barked at the royal one. They surrounded Adis, growling like thunder. Adis stepped back in fear. Prince Obina pulled away from her. The village priest, Dibia Kalu, came forward slowly. He looked at both twins and said, Bring water. They brought a bowl of water. The Dibia spoke, Truth does not fear reflection. He told both girls to look into the water. Amara looked. Her reflection was hers. Dirty, yes, but steady. Adis looked, and her reflection smiled without her smiling. Then it spoke, not with mouth, but in the water. Thief! Adis screamed and pushed the bowl away. The crowd gasped. The prince's face turned cold. Adis tried to run, but the dogs blocked her. Papa Dyke grabbed her wrist, and the Dibia said calmly, Take her to the forest of fear. Let her meet the spirit she paid. Adis began to cry. Please, I'm sorry. Amara's voice broke. You buried me alive. Adis fell to her knees. Then she looked up at Amara and whispered, I just wanted your life. Amara wiped tears. And now you have lost your own. Adis was taken away. Some say she returned. Some say she didn't. But one thing became the village lesson forever. You can copy a face, but you can never copy destiny. Prince Obina walked to Amara. He held her hands. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what. Amara said softly, Truth is quiet, but it doesn't die. And that night, the palace prepared again, not a wedding of lies, but the restoration of the true bride. So, my people, this is the end of the story. If you learned something, remember this. Envy is a grave you dig with your own hands, and the life meant for you will never require you to destroy someone else. See you in our next story, my friends.